We'll now go back to HB 974. We have Chair Valderrama presenting speed monitoring systems, Indian Head Highway or Piscataway Parkway. What are we supposed to call it? Okay.
I'll switch out. Whatever. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, esteemed Vice Chairwoman, honorable members of the Environment and Transportation Committee. For the record, Chris Valderrama here to present House Bill 974. For those of you who are new to this committee, this is not a new issue. This is a very dire issue, at least in my district, District 26 in Prince George's County. I want to preface by saying this is not a speed camera bill. This is a fines and penalties bill. We're not adding speed cameras. You guys took care of that for us already. Thank you very much. I will start off by saying that I'm sure those who are new to the committee will recognize this issue. I speak here on behalf of the Prince George's delegation, but for many of you who's been on this committee, this is a piece of legislation that is near and dear to my heart and my constituents who are here representing today. The Prince George's Police Department, the Prince George's County Council, the County Executive, also Brooks Administration, all of us united are here today and have all focused on improving safety on Maryland Route 210 for several years now. So together we have made great strides using speed monitoring systems, which supplement our severely overworked police department. The use of these devices allows our police force to focus on the serious public safety issues that confront our county, while not entirely abandoning police-operated radar systems. I want to emphasize that this legislation does not increase, as I said in the beginning of my testimony, the number of cameras or the placement of speed monitoring systems. We've done that, and moreover, Prince George's County has invested in improved equipment, which will result in ticketing more speeders on this road that has been dubbed, as many of you know, the Highway of Death. And that's known nationwide, not just in the state of Maryland. As we evaluated how we could improve our effort to slow traffic on Route 210, there were several approaches that were considered and rejected. Many wanted more severe sanctions, including mandating remedial driver's ed for recidivist speeders, and even a system that would apply points and restrict driving rights of drivers who repeatedly flouted our laws. This bill, House Bill 974, seeks to increase the civil penalties on Route 210 so that the sanction is better aligned with the seriousness of the infraction. Instead of a flat $40 penalty fee for all speeders, whether they travel 15 miles per hour over the speed limit or 90 miles per over the speed limit, penalties will range from $40 to $530. These are the same sanctions, same sanctions that would be levied in cases where a law enforcement officer is the one issuing a citation. An additional penalty will target drivers who have multiple infractions within a 2-year period. These recidivist fines range from $50 to $350 for up to 6 violations within 2 years. The legislative history of the civil penalty for speed camera violations reveals that the $40 civil penalty was first instituted when our neighboring county of Montgomery began using speed cameras back in 2005, more than 18 years ago. The original bill set penalties at $100 per occurrence, but was amended to $40 during the legislative process, with no option for doubling or even increasing the penalty for non-payment, as is frequently done in other jurisdictions, such as in my county. This same $40 penalty was enacted when work zone speed cameras were instituted back in 2009, and again when Prince George's adopted their limited speed camera program 6 years ago in 2018. Just this session, many of you are probably well aware since you handle transportation, our governor, Wes Moore, recognized that a $40 civil penalty, which has never been adjusted, never, to keep pace with inflation, and is no longer an adequate deterrent to the widespread speeding on our roadway work zones, which has caused injury and death to far too many Maryland highway employees. This committee held a hearing on House Bill 513, the Maryland Road Worker Protection Act of 2024, earlier this month, which seeks a similar penalty structure as we are seeking. For the record, I do support that legislation. And many of you know and have had conversations with me. Route 210, and many of the members on here as well know who reside in the neighboring jurisdiction. Route 210 also runs into Charles County. The unfortunate part is that Prince George's County and Charles County approach, our approaches to speed enforcement is not equitable. Many years ago, there was a memo of understanding that gave the state police the sole authority for speed control on Route 10, but only in Charles County. Prince George's was not guaranteed the same assistance and shoulders this burden. Our county shoulders this burden largely without any assistance. So in its current form, the penalty structure between those who speed on other portions of Route 210 and those who speed in our county is not equitable. Because Charles County does not use speed cameras and speeding drivers issued a ticket during a traffic stop are fined based on the number of miles they drive over the speed limit, we believe, the constituents here with me today and law enforcement and the administration and the council, we all believe that this enhanced fine structure has deterred speeders until they reach the Prince George's line. This legislation provides parity, and I want to emphasize parity for all speeders on Route 210, regardless of whether they receive their ticket by a speed camera or by a police officer. So one of the myths that have been going around is that the myth that has been perpetuated recently is that Prince George's speed cameras are merely money makers. I'm really kind of sick and tired of hearing that because it's really just trying to get at the point of what I'm conveying to you here. Some have called our efforts to slow speeders down a tax. Madam Vice Chair hears this all the time on the House floor. A tax on the drivers from Charles County. And with no disrespect to my colleagues here from Charles County, that is not what this bill does. This argument is belied by the fact that speeding is entirely within a driver's control. I think we can all attest to that. It is a choice. No one gets a ticket when they obey the posted speed limit. That's just fact. Moreover, opponents to the Prince George's system ignore the fact that Charles County residents have also been killed on this highway of death, unfortunately, not just Prince Georgians. Unfortunately, Virginians, everybody. It's everyone's road, and that our efforts are to protect the security, the safety of all drivers that use Route 210. So I will say that in closing, folks have asked me this particular session in general, Delegate Valderrama, what is your biggest priority this session? What is your big hot topic? And people are shocked when I say, this is it. This out of the many pieces of legislation that I have been submitting this session, this one really is it. And people don't understand it because they find it as a delegation bill, as a local bill. Yes, it is, but that is what we're here to represent as our constituency. So, as I say, I sit here before you, especially to the subcommittee on transportation, Delegate Love, I seek your assistance in moving this measure forward. But we here, and I will say for myself, we in Prince George's County, we are united in enacting a sensible solution to the speeding problem on Route 210. And we sit here to implore you and urge you to help us bring this to fruition and join us by giving a favorable report to House Bill 974. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson, and to all esteemed delegates. My name is Reverend Dr. Robert L. Screen Sr. I'm the facilitator of the 210 Traffic Safety Committee. I support HB 974/PG 30624, Prince George's County Speed Monitoring System, the Indian Head Highway. As a 46-year resident of the Indian Head Highway community, I've witnessed the devolution of a once safe and civil traffic driving community transition into a community embraced in fear, anxiety, frustration, anger, and uncertainty. The characteristics I've described depict a vision of a community gripped in a hostage, incarcerated dilemma, chained and bound by circumstances beyond its control, but with a daily cloud that constantly and consistently hovers over the main street of this roadway known as Indian Head Highway, Route 210. This 14-mile span of highway has been labeled as the Highway of Death due to the extraordinary road fatalities it carries throughout the years of its existence, but also because of the dangerous driving characteristics of its drivers, routinely driving over 100 miles per hour on a 55 miles per hour speed limit roadway, routinely driving on the highway shoulders at speeds 20 miles per hour or plus over the speed limit, routinely running through the red light intersections, and routinely evidencing serious and fatal accidents. And as a former pilot, routinely driving at speeds associated with slow-moving aircraft rather than automobiles. Residents routinely fear driving the highway by avoiding driving at certain times, driving side streets, or simply not driving at all if they can avoid it. Because of the high probability of being involved in an accident living in proximity of the highway, many residents, and probably most of them, have their insurance rates exorbitantly higher than most people. I implore you to pass HB 974. It's time to let the captives be set free. Thank you.
Chair Boyce and, Chair Corman and Vice Chair Boyce and members of the committee. I'm Fort Washington resident Ron Weiss in favor of HB 974. I thank you for the committee's years of support to the 210 speed camera pilot project, and thank you for the opportunity to tell you why I support HB 974. And a special thank you to Delegate Valderrama for pioneering 210 safety 7 years ago and staying with it all these years. My family and I settled here in 50 years ago in Maryland. 210's been our main street ever since. My 6 children, 7 grandchildren live close enough that they visit my wife and I several times each year. We're anxious for their safety when they visit because they travel on the highway of death when they come. I'm a member of Reverend Screen's 210 Traffic Safety Committee. We've been working together with Delegate Valderrama for 7 years to make Indian Head Speedway safe for my family and all other families. We have the support of their communities on both sides of 210 from Oxon Hill to Akakie. We have the support of our police, our county executive, and our county council. Many Charles County residents use 210, and some have voiced their concern for their own safety on 210. The 210 speed camera pilot project data shows it's been a success. It has reduced speeds, and I believe it has saved lives by changing the behavior of most drivers. And the revenue generated from those reduced speed has been transferred to the state highway for 210 traffic safety improvements. But a small percentage of the 80,000 vehicles a day that are being driven at outrageous speeds, and they're doing so repeatedly. Law-abiding people who use 210 should not need to be afraid of the traffic violence created by those drivers. I support Maryland litter control laws, and those fines range from $1,500 and possible 30 days imprisonment to a $30,000 fine with a possible 5 years in prison. But compare that to the fine for the driver going 170 on 210. You get $40 and no points, no prison. Thank you, and I urge your support.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I am Deputy Chief Katina Gomez from Prince George's County, and I bring you greetings on behalf of Chief Malik Aziz. We would like to offer our support in favor of this bill. Since the implementation of speed cameras in 2019, the portion of Indian Head Highway, which falls inside the Prince George's County borders, has seen a total of 25 fatal collisions. Through heavy enforcement by patrol officers, special assignments funded by overtime, and joint operations with the Maryland State Police, Prince George's County Police Department has invested massive resources and man hours into making this roadway safer. Since 2020, our data has shown that approximately 30% of violators have been previously cited for speeding along Maryland Route 210 through automated enforcement. This means 1 in 3 citations issued is to a repeat offender. There are drivers that have been cited more than 20 times. According to our records, there is a driver that's been cited at least 58 times. It's obvious that a $40 civil fine is not having the desired effect in curbing this behavior. I would like to point out that an offender in this context is an offending vehicle. We can identify these by registration plates, but we have no way of knowing whether the offender is the same driver. The speed monitoring systems currently in use have shown to be apparent in reducing the speeding on the highway. However, despite the current speed monitoring enforcement coupled with combined enforcement efforts of the Prince George's County Police Department and the Maryland State Police, this deadly stretch of Maryland 210 is still averaging approximately 5 fatalities a year. Please help us to curb dangerous driving and potentially avoid additional tragic deaths by approving the increase of civil penalties as well as penalties that are second or subsequent violations or that involve exceeding maximum speed limit by certain amounts. The passage of House Bill 974 will provide additional tools for law enforcement to use to improve traffic safety and help protect the many motorists and pedestrians who travel on Indian Head Highway. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Delegate Antana. We have a few questions. We'll start with Delegate Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Delegate, for bringing this bill and everyone for coming in today. So we've had a number of conversations about Route 210 and the excessive speeding on it. So the vendor that you have had has had a problem with issuing tickets. Their technology wasn't working well, so a lot of speeders did not get tickets. Now, it is my understanding that you all have selected a new vendor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. And that new vendor will start when?
Officer has an answer for that.
We're hoping that the new vendor will start in the next 90 days.
Great. Okay. So hopefully that new vendor will have better technology and will actually be able to catch all of those speeders.
Yes,
Isn't that so?
absolutely.
Great. Okay.
Absolutely.
And then, Mr. Chair, if I may, thank you. Last year, we passed legislation giving you all the authority to go from 3 cameras to 6 cameras. And it's my understanding that those extra 3 cameras have not gone up yet. Can you tell me when those will go up?
Yes, ma'am. It's part of the new vendor program, so it will go up when we get the new vendor.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
One more, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much. Ron, you mentioned that the funds from the fines that the folks that have been caught and have paid their fines have gone to SHA. Can you tell us what improvements have been done by SHA on Route 210?
Yes, Delegate. They have improved lighting at intersections. They've improved striping. They're improving the shoulders so that to discourage drivers from, as Reverend Screen said, driving along the shoulders and passing people on the right. They're right now they're experimenting with narrowing lanes to see if that encourages drivers to drive slower. We're collecting data on that test and seeing if that's effective on 210 and with a view to maybe spreading that technique in other highways.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank
If
you,
I
Mr.
may
Chair.
also add, I think about 10 of the 14 miles was repaved about 2 years ago with a new asphalt deck.
Delegate Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegate Valderrama, thank you so much for your, commitment to this issue and your hard work over the last 7 years. So and thank you for the history, by the way, about speed cameras and the fines. I did not realize that there was ever a contemplation of $100 fine and ended up at 40 and how long it's been at 40. So that's useful to know. But I'm going to ask you the question that's come up several times because I figure it's bound to, which is that you have, I think over the last couple of years, inquired of the Attorney General's office whether there were any legal or constitutional issues around these much higher fines. And can you say anything about that?
If you would like, I could, but yes, we've had conversations and we are not, this legislation is not impeding on any statute or what have you. I was going to add something else and now I just lost my train of thought. But I could get, if the subcommittee wishes that, I could get an AG's opinion again.
Yeah,
and
no,
have
I think you have put that issue to
Yes.
rest, but I wondered if it might come up because my one other question is, is there any similar fine structure on any other roadways in the state?
Yes, there is. And actually, Ron, do you have that stat? It's DC. The DC? Ocean City.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure I know.
Oh, you have it? I can provide that for you, but this is not, we are not setting precedent is what I should say.
Okay,
Yeah.
that would be useful to know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the only delegate from Charles County on this committee, I take your references to Charles County over and over again for me to respond to. So I have no objection to speed cameras, but I'm going to tell you that we hear them day in and day out in this committee. It seems as though it's an easier way to handle speeders is to take pictures of them. I've heard the excessive speeds on 210. I've heard the stories about the excessive speeds on 210. I don't think fines are enough. Isn't the way to get these guys off the road, isn't the way is to take live cameras, live pictures, and that is still available as a tool. Why aren't we using it?
With speed cameras, it's taking pictures of the tags, obviously, because we're able to, provide citations. However, we're looking into partnering with the new software company that possibly could help us, be able to get more information when it comes to these speeders and providing different, fines or different, different fractions for infractions, discipline or whatever. But it will take for all of us to come together to see what we can do and do that because we have to make sure that we're not violating anyone's rights.
Yeah, what happened to the actual use of speed guns when when you can see the vehicle and you can actually find the person's higher?
Yeah, we still operate and do radar traffic and enforcement on 210 with our police officers and with the help of Maryland State Police. So we still do those things, but it's just being able to develop at a time and be out there during those different times to be able to cite these individuals that are speeding constantly on Route 210.
Lastly, if I may, you say your county executive thinks this is a priority, your county council thinks it's a priority, the police thinks it's a priority. Why wouldn't you be there with speed guns? I don't understand.
We are there. We're there.
And if I may, Delegate Davis, first, with respect, I don't keep track of everyone who's in Charles County. I know you're in Charles County, so I didn't mean anything just targeted at you. So with that said, if I hadn't mentioned in my testimony, part of the problem also is our law enforcement, we have so many, as everyone else does, even more serious issues that have to be dealt with. And so the number of men and women on 210 from law enforcement is very small. So to have an actual speed, I would love to have a speed gun there, but who's going to be there to hold it out and, right? Isn't that how it's used?
But we're there. We
But
do
I-
enforcement.
No, I know you're there. It's just that we've been told by the chief that, there's not enough of all of us, which I wish we had what Charles County has, which is the state troopers, right? But because of this MOU, we don't have that. Did you have an answer in addition?
My understanding, and again, in just the years that I've been, as I say, it's almost 50 years I've lived in this community. We've seen a reduction of the number of policemen on staff. And unfortunately, when the main, the state troopers, which this is a state road, would normally be doing the things that they're doing, the Prince George's County Police Department, we don't have the personnel to be there to hold the speed camera, the one that you're talking about. So the speed cameras that we have are really, for many times, is our main source of enforcement. And so it's not like we don't want people to be there. There are times when the staffing was up high enough. That's exactly what they were doing. But as you know, and all of us know, the personnel in law enforcement in this nation has been reduced. We have not been an exception to that rule. So, we just don't have the personnel.
Delegate Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate, first of all, thank you for being here today for this very important issue and conversation. I represent South County as well, Prince George's County, so I definitely understand how this can be burdensome. And so if anybody understands about the MOU with state police, I do. It's an issue that I've been researching. Just wondering with respect to the bill, do you think this bill would be necessary if that MOU was no longer in place between the county and the state police?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I just want to,
That's okay. Thank you, though. We have many
I'm
more
sorry.
witnesses who
Okay.
I'm sure will cover the ground. So thank you.
okay.
That is it for this panel, but we do have some virtual witnesses in favor of the bill. We'll bring up now. We have Tamara Brown and Kishana Cross, and Delegate Calvin Hawkins had to drop off, it looks like. So we are not going to him, Delegate. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the committee for allowing us to testify virtually. I'm Tamara Davis Brown, a resident of Clinton, Maryland, and also a member of the Maryland 210 Safety Committee. I have a Me Too testimony, and the only thing that I wanted to reinforce from our delegate, Chris Valderrama, and I thank her for her representation of District 26, of which I'm a resident, but more importantly, for being vigilant and continuing to champion this issue, is that there have been 2 fatalities in 2023. And while that is a great reduction than what we've seen in the past, unfortunately, speeding and death on this highway knows no jurisdiction. And the 2 persons that have passed away, unfortunately, one was a resident of Waldorf in Charles County, and the second was a resident of Chesapeake Beach in Calvert County. So we can see that it not only affects Prince Georgians, but it also affects those in the counties south of us that traverse this highway. And so I urge favorable report and favorable passage of this legislation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Cross, please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, and thank you so much for bringing forward this House Bill 0974. We are in support. I represent the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, Prince George's County. I am the chairman for the Prince George's County Chapter 7023-B, Young Adults Youth Works College Branch. We are in complete support of this bill, and we do acknowledge that many of the conversations that have gone forth in the Me Too is a critical piece that this committee can no longer ignore. The infractions and the violations carry a fine that are too minimum to impact change. Any fine that references $25 to $40 is just a hair trip to a beauty salon. We are looking at fines at $400 that may increase with the speeding tickets and different other infractions such as endangerment as well as reckless driving. We are asking that you assess the points on the driver's records and that you generally make it a critical point to identify, as was spoken by one of the committee chairs, the persons via non-manned speed cameras, which Red Speed, a new developing traffic mitigation company, can advise you on, which do not require a manpower to operate. It can be placed on a tree, it can be placed on a light pole, and it is unmanned, and it will take video pictures. Maryland Route 210 covers about 20.86 miles, 20.86 miles. We're talking the length of a marathon. People can run this length, which means there is no need or a rational reason why this infraction is so low, particularly in a place where you will have the preponderance of your demographic in the African-American zones. I will say that nearly 60% of the people that live in and around Indian Head is African-American. There's another large percentage that is Latino American. We are asking for equity as well as an address the concern of community safety. Thank you in supporting House Bill 974.
Thank you very much. We have a question from Delegate Long.
Thank you for indulging me, Mr. Chair. I have a question for Ms. Tamara Davis Brown. Ms. Brown, I'm just wondering, in your opinion, through your work and activism in the community, do you feel that if the Prince George's County Police Department were more active in pulling individuals over on 210, that this would perhaps solve some concerns as well?
Actually, I think that if the Prince George's County had the ability, to your earlier question, to have the Maryland State Troopers to patrol this road just as they do in Charles County, Calvert County, and all the other counties in the state, that would be my preference, and that would be more preferable than having our officers who should be in our own neighborhoods, on our own streets, in our own communities in Prince George's County. This is a state road, and it should be enforced by state troopers. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted that for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have some additional in-person witnesses. We have Herbert Jones, Tatalian North Area Civic Association, Major Anthony Klein from the County Police Department, Dolores Holmes, Patricia Monroe from the South Lawn Citizens Association. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Monroe, and I am the president of the South Lawn Citizens Association. I live off the First Livingston Road when you come off 295. It is directly off of Maryland 210 Indian Head Highway. Over the past 20 plus years of living in South Lawn, I have not only witnessed drivers speeding on 210, but have heard the numerous accidents, crashes, some fatal, which result from speeding. I have also been awakened in the night by vehicles and motorcycles racing up and down Maryland 210. Many residents will think increasing the number of cameras and fines for speeding on 210 is unfair. But what is unfair is putting other people who abide by the laws' safety at risk because they have no regard for human life and the laws. Research has proven that speed cameras can reduce deaths and serious injuries. People are dying on our highways in dramatic numbers. Speeding is one of the most significant causes. On George Mason Drive in Virginia, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour. The fine on that particular road is $200, and it increases during school hours. Needless to say, you do not see drivers speeding on that road. Fines in the District of Columbia start at $100 an hour when you go 11 miles over the speed limit, and it increases based on the speed. Speed kills. The likelihood of death increases when vehicles speed. If a vehicle hits a pedestrian crossing the road on 210 going 42 miles per hour, the pedestrian is more likely to be killed than if the vehicle was going 25 miles per hour. Imagine your loved one being hit by a vehicle going 65 to 100 miles an hour. The highest speed clocked on 210 has been 168 miles. I believe increasing the fines and adding additional cameras on Maryland 210 will slow drivers down and change their driving habits. Remember, cars don't kill people, speed does. Therefore, I am urging you to pass HB 974. The life you save may be your own or your loved ones. Good afternoon, Chairman and delegates. I am Dolores Holmes, and I've been a resident of Fort Washington, Maryland for more than 30 years. I'm testifying in support of HB 974. I'm also a mother of 6 adult children and a 2-year-old grandson that commute daily on Route 210. As a registered nurse, Route 210, I personally believe, is a public health emergency. I should not have to take my life in my hands to travel in my community just to go to the grocery store. Did you know that according to a study published by NIH, motor vehicle crashes are the single leading cause of post-traumatic stress disorder in the general population? I personally had a close family member seriously injured in an accident on 210. They had to remove him from the car with the jaws of life. The accidents and fatalities caused physical and psychological traumas to the families and the entire community. Delegates, chairman, how would you feel if you got that call and it's your loved one, your mother, your father, your child who was killed or seriously injured by a reckless driver that only receives a fine of $40? I urge you to support HB 974 because our lives depend on it. I thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Chairman Corman, Vice Chair Boyce, committee members, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Herbert Jones. I'm president of the Italian North Area Civic Association, representing over 600 residents in Fort Washington, Maryland. As president of the association, we want people who drive repeatedly at unconscionable speeds on Maryland 210 to be held accountable for their bad behavior and endangering lives. $40 speed camera citation has proven ineffective in changing their behavior. HB 974 increases fines for these speeders proportionate to their unlawful speed and adds fines for repeated speeders. Endangering lives on Indian Head Highway should result in a significant fine, not a minuscule fine. The Indian Head Highway community and all of us on the Maryland 210 committee deserve to get home safely. We should not have to live in fear of high rate speeders in our community. We hope this committee votes favorably on this bill. I'd just like to add just one last comment, my 50 seconds. This bill is one of many tools. It's not a panacea, but it will help assist. It will help assist in changing the behavior of drivers. That's what we're attempting to do. You have the cameras, we have the new cameras, newer technology, we have the increased fines. All of that will help change the behavior. I come to this county from Alexandria, Virginia, and I can tell you, and I always tell this story. Friends of mine would come up to my home and they say, well, gee, Herb, I can't drink a beer over at your home watching the game, because as I go out to Richmond Highway Route 1, the police officers, along with the speed cameras, would be on top of it. So it's a culture, and I think we can change that culture with hopefully this legislation and others. Again, not a panacea, but one of the many tools in the toolbox. Thank you.
Thank you all so much, particularly for sharing your personal experience. We have some additional in-person witnesses, Tierney Screen and Katie Nash. Either of them here? Oh. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chairman and committee. I am an Accokeek resident, Reverend Tierney Screen, in favor of HB 974. We moved to Fort Washington, Maryland 46 years ago and now reside in Accokeek since 1993. During these years, I was employed with the federal government and commuted on Indian Head Highway, traveling to numerous destinations. We raised our daughter and son and taught them to drive, paying strict attention to roadway signs, especially speed limits. They are grown up and have families of their own now, visiting us from time to time. Our greatest fear is their safety on Maryland 210 Indian Head Highway, which should not be. Every time they leave, we remind them to let us know when they arrive home safely. In June 2017, an Accokeek resident was violently killed by a speeder at the intersection of southbound Indian Head Highway and Pine Drive as he left his job to go home to his family after a day's work. He called home as usual to let them know he would see them soon. He never made it home to his loved ones. After seeing the grief on his widow's face and hearing her quivering voice talking with a TV reporter, I felt her pain. It was at that point I decided to do something about the senseless deaths on Indian Highway because the victims should not be snatched away from their loved ones who would never hear their voices, laughter, and give loving hugs again. Their lives' destinies are cut short by drivers who make a conscious decision to break the law by exceeding the posted speed limits and doing reckless driving. Today, his family and church community are missing him for birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, and services at his church. Unfortunately, he was only one of many who have perished on Maryland 210, and many families are grieving the sudden senseless loss of loved ones. I pray none of you ever experience this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the bill hearing on HB 974.